Cool.
All right, so I'm inviting you, or sorry, sending the request now.
Got it.
All
And
right.
approve. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Going live here in just a minute. Actually, we're live already. My brain is coffeeed up. So get ready for some information.
Oops. Yeah, it turns out I didn't have the volume down, Joseph.
I think it actually automatically kicks up the volume.
Oh, see, that's the
But
interesting part.
I think we should still be fine. I don't think people are going to hear from the other side. So you'll have to ask your YouTubers once you turn your volume down on your iPhone all the way
Yeah.
if they can hear double. As long as they can't hear double, we should be good. Same thing for those of you watching on Facebook. Let us know if you hear double the sound or if it sounds perfectly fine. As long as there's no echo, we should be good. But yeah, I have
All
my
right.
volume all the way down on my phone.
So me too, but you can hear something, right?
Yeah, I can hear you through the headphones.
Okay. So I'm going to speak very closely to this microphone so it stays away from the uh the phone. So everybody on YouTube world, if you wouldn't mind doing us a quick favor as we're testing the audio, last time we got word that we had a lot of echo. So we fixed it, we think. So let us know, can you hear an echo whenever I speak? And Joseph, if you can get some disclaimers out there to get some audio testing from your side.
Yeah, same thing on Facebook. If you're watching right now on Facebook, let us know if you only hear one sound or if you hear echo so that we can make sure that we adjust, make sure we get that fixed. But Jaime, I'm gonna guess that the volume's so low on the phone that people are probably only going to hear us once. That's my guess.
I
I
hope
could
so.
be wrong. I could be wrong, but
Cool.
it would not be the first time I was wrong, and I'm okay with that. So,
No, so I'm putting the phone away as far away as possible from me so it doesn't look like I'm a block back there. But I'll just do it one more time just to for the sake of it. All right. So I'm
oh,
hearing over here from Dan. Hey Dan, thanks so much for joining us. Everything sounds good, no echo, so that's perfect.
yeah, Carla's saying the same thing. She says everything sounds fine because I think my mic's again. I think there's some volume coming out of the phone, but I think the mic is facing forward, right? So it's not omnidirectional. It's a cardioid. Linda Harper says unsubscribe.
What?
Bye, Linda. Bye. Oh,
She
that's
unsubscribed?
hilarious. I don't know. I think she's making a joke.
Was it okay?
Oh,
Because
I'm guessing.
I didn't want to use a B word. Boomer.
Come on, Boomer.
Alrighty.
Come on,
With that,
Boomer.
of course, I wouldn't call our audience a boomer. Alrighty.
All right.
Well, we ready?
I think we're ready to rock and roll, Jaime. If you want to go ahead and do the introduction, and we'll start rocking and rolling on today's call
Let's hit it.
podcast.
Well, welcome everybody to the Agent Lead Source Podcast, episode 27. What we're talking about today is, guess what? It is real estate lead generation strategies that you're not getting anywhere else. Now, it may be a secret. It may be because these gurus are trying to get you to pay thousands of dollars like we don't do, by the way, to get these strategies, or it's just because they do not have enough marketing experience to come up with these. So what we're going to do is talk about things that are a little bit different. So are we going to talk about open houses? Not really in the sense, in the traditional sense. Are we going to talk about cold calling? Not really in the traditional sense. So there's a lot of different strategies that you hear about right outside of real estate school in your new brokerage that you get trained, which is more the traditional way. So today we do things a little bit different. The more modern way that are yet still more effective and scalable. Joseph, how's it going? What time is it in your neck of the woods?
It is currently 10:45 in the morning, Jaime. I have already had one master class call. I had talked with a new agent who needed some help and gave her some free information on how to go market her business and what to do. And it's Friday here, so I'm not going to complain about anything that I have going on.
I dig it.
Well,
I dig it. As a reminder, everybody, Joseph is in Singapore. So that's why we
yeah,
ask this because it matters. And it also, we make it a point to bring it up because it's a tradition, but also we're trying to break down some barriers of the traditional ways of doing things. This is a new medium as podcasts becoming more and more popular, but also the way that you work, the way that you interact, the way that you build a community. So Joseph and I, we spent the reason we were late is because we spent an hour talking about our lives. But
Yeah.
this is good. I mean, this is a great way for you to start building these relationships with your clients, with your coworkers, in regardless the setting. It doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that every time we have this call and we talk about this, like, you can be anywhere in the world and you can start creating a podcast. You can, like, I know there's somebody, and I'll probably give away one of the things we'll talk about here, but you can create a podcast and start talking about real estate in your market to people who are considering moving to your market, especially with so many people moving around right now. A podcast is a great way to promote your market to other people outside of your market that are moving there for whatever reason they may be moving there, right? Because we have a lot of people that move. We call it from out of state to in state. So yeah, a podcast is a great way to be able to promote your business. And again, we'll talk more about this stuff a little bit later.
I dig it. I dig it. Well, Joseph, now that we have podcast up in the air, do we want to go ahead and slam dunk it, or do we want to wait for later on? Because we can bring in your strategy that we were talking about first. What would you prefer? You're the driver of this
Uh,
ship.
let's talk about podcasts right now. I mean, and obviously the audience, you let us know. We'll talk about some things if there's something that you've been considering, and we'll tell you some ideas on how to implement some of these things. But yeah, we can go ahead and start talking about podcasts now. Jaime, you want to tell everybody how many downloads we've had of the podcast so far?
We've had 1,500 downloads on the podcast. Now, some of you may be thinking, wow, that's impossible. And some of you may be thinking, wow, that's it. Well, number one, get off our backs, okay? Because this is something that was new to us. So we're not doing anything we don't share anything on this podcast that we're not doing ourselves or working with our clients to achieve. So let's
Yeah.
start there. But also, to put things in perspective, we do lose viewers or listeners because of the way that we broadcast. And that's by design. We're okay with that
Yeah.
because we get hundreds of listens on Facebook alone, and we get hundreds of listens over on YouTube. So the podcast, that's a different medium that some folks are just jumping onto. So we are, of course, we'd love to have millions and millions and millions of downloads. However, at the end of the day, we understand that we're cannibalizing our audio listens because some of you are on YouTube right now, are actually experiencing it real time, being part of the community, and same thing on Facebook. So if we had to put some real numbers behind that, what it really looks like without exaggeration, it's over 25,000. Without
Yeah. That's
exaggeration, easily, comfortably, it's over 25,000 listens.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting that as we talk about this particular segment of being able to market, right? These things that people actually don't share, like other marketers, other real estate agents won't share this type of stuff, because you can have a podcast where you get on and you can talk to these local business owners. You can talk to the talk about the market with another mortgage professional, an insurance agent, and you can do this every single week. And if you continue to do it over time, you're naturally going to have more clients, right? I know Jaime for a fact, and I know, or at least for myself, I'll say, let's speak for myself. I'll let Jaime speak for himself. But I know that I've gotten clients because of the podcast, right? I've gotten clients because of YouTube. I've gotten clients because of Facebook, people watching, right? And so the point of that statement is that if you're doing these things, the more views you get, the more listeners you get, and specifically for the podcast, naturally people are going to go search for you. I know that people have listened to the podcast and have sent me a message, and they've gone out to Facebook and looked for me, right? Because I don't know where our information is, but they come search for me to say, hey man, I listened to your podcast. The information you guys have on there is so fantastic. So you can imagine doing that as a real estate agent and talking about what's going on in your market. And those of you who are doing YouTube already, you real estate agents that are doing YouTube already, if you want to be a genius, you take the information that you currently have on your YouTube videos and you make them into a podcast. And you just kill two birds with one stone. And you will have new listeners, because not everybody listens to their information the same, or gets their information the same way. Some people get on YouTube, some people get on Facebook, and some people get through podcasts. So you're able to really capitalize on these things if you do it the right way.
100%, 100%. And what I really like about the podcast, Joseph, we were talking about this not today, but it was last week. I'm pretty sure we're talking about the preparation that goes into this, but also, when we get going, we feed off of each other, and it brings some additional, it's almost like that competitive spirit. You're a
Yeah.
professional athlete or a collegiate athlete. I was not, but I was still competitive, right? So I was
Yeah.
competitive academically, all state
Yeah.
academically. Don't get that twisted.
Boom. Boom.
But you were all state,
I would.
where it mattered. So
I mean, I also carried a very high GPA. Just to be very clear.
oh, okay. All right. Okay. Settle down. At least let me have one thing, Joseph.
Yeah, it's
I
all yours.
I
All
wasn't
yours.
playing
I
Division
was
One
not all state.
football.
I was not all state academic. I just carried a high
There you
GPA.
go. There you go. Jeez. That went off the rails quickly. No, so when it we're talking about the yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that, Joseph. On to the next topic. No, it was podcast.
Yeah.
With the podcast, what's happening is you were mentioning, that simulcast. That's a huge leverage point that you get. But now I remember my point. Last week, what we were talking about was just the formation that you receive, because there's something different that when you have to communicate it to somebody, it's that whole concept of, do you really get it? If you really do get it, you're able to teach it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So you and
Yeah.
I both are educators in different mediums, whether that's through Facebook, whether that's through podcasts, whether that's through YouTube, where educators have to convey our messages through different mediums and be as effective as we possibly can. So whenever you as real estate agents are communicating the mortgage process, well, do you really know what it's like to get qualified for a loan? Do you have that ability to communicate that with somebody else? If you don't worry. There are professionals that do know that. So this is that great medium. Goes back to the original point that we started with of you being in Singapore and I'm here in Texas. Well, you could easily be a lender that is doing loans
Mhm.
in Singapore, and we're speaking directly about Singapore. Your clients are here
Yeah.
in the United States primarily, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're able to have that connectivity like no other, and are able to become, or at least seen as, the master of that particular topic or that you're covering, even though you may not. So again, if you can't articulate what the loan looks like or how the process is to get qualified, we can get a professional and gain that audience, gain that respect, gain that, I'm not gonna say admiration, but be seen as the authority in the space regardless.
Yeah. Well, and you use somebody else's knowledge, right? Essentially, is what you're saying. You work with that particular person. As I was saying earlier on the different podcasts that you can run, if you have people moving from one part of the country to another, right? You can then do an episode with a loan officer. By the way, a loan officer will want to be able to talk to you about business because guess what? That's free marketing for them. So you can go out to a loan officer that is in, let's give it like a direct example. You are in Austin, Texas, where I'm from, right? And you do a podcast with a loan officer from California. Okay. And that podcast, you're asking that loan officer from California, hey, tell me a little bit about getting a loan in your market. What's the average house cost? And what does somebody have to make? And what are the things that you look for? Right? Kind of give us an idea if somebody was going to buy a house in California. The following week, you do a podcast with a loan officer in Austin, Texas, or your market, and you say, can you tell me what that process looks like? They're going through the numbers, they're telling you what's going on. And the whole time you're like, oh my gosh, I had a conversation with this loan officer out in California, and these were his numbers. What are your thoughts on that? Right. And so as you're asking the questions, guess what happens? People start seeing you as the authority figure. That both those loan officers got some free marketing from it. And you just created 2 episodes by simply going out and asking questions. Right. And so Cindy here just asked a question, Jaime. I don't know if we want to hit that question here on Facebook. She says, how do you build an audience for your podcast? I don't know if you want to hit that first on what you think, and then I'll hit it next.
Yeah. So as you know, in this in the Agent Lead Source podcast, we like to be as transparent as possible and give you the playbook that we're executing. You may not be executing it the same way. That's completely okay. I'm not saying that's right or that's wrong, or that this is better or not better. But one of the big reasons that we have the numbers that we have and are hitting certain milestones a lot quicker than traditional podcasts, if you look at the entire picture, is take note of where we're going live from. Take note of where that's happening. So right now in one of the groups that we're broadcasting in simultaneously, because we're in multiple Facebook groups, we're in a group that has, what is it, 60,000 real estate professionals in the group itself. So we're tapping into an audience that we didn't necessarily create. Now, Joseph and I, we'd like to think that we were instrumental in, helping the quality of the content, help the group grow. But at the end of the day, it wasn't one that we started and did ourselves. So how we built the audience so quickly is we tapped into an audience that was already being built, and we're providing content, which is a valuable aspect of the group. So we're being rewarded from a attention standpoint, because these notifications go out to thousands of agents every single time that we go live. So that's one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. I think that's a very important note. So as you look at a real estate agent and their business, you at the end of the day need to be a marketer, right? And I don't want to say you have to have a marketing degree or anything like that. It's just understand, like, the things that we talk about, probably better than some marketing. Actually, I know they are, because I've trained people who got out of college that had a marketing degree. Anyway, you understand where your audience is. One of the statements in marketing is go where the audience is, right? If your audience is on Facebook, meaning your local markets, maybe message the owner of that particular group, the admin of that group, and say, hey, I'd love to do a podcast telling people about real estate. Maybe it costs you some money. Hey, I'd love to pay you $50 a month, or whatever that number comes out to be, to bring in, allow me to go on here and go live. You record it live. You also pull the audio and then put that on the podcast as well, right? That's kind of what we do. Actually, it's exactly what we do. And so that's how you build your audience. You can also do this by going live on your personal wall, or going live on those two mortgage professionals walls that I told you about. And you're tapping into their audience now, right? And so these are ways that you grow your audience. And then you just mention your podcast. Like we mentioned the Agent Lead Source podcast multiple times throughout this call. And so that's how you build your audience, right? And or at least one of the ways, again, that you build your audience. So to answer, hopefully, Cindy at the beach, we gave you several ways to do that, and that answered your question.
Awesome. So we have D Jones in the house from New Jersey. Welcome, D. She was complimenting my fresh new shirt. So if you're fortunate enough to watch this via video, you'll know why she's complimenting it. And Joseph's not looking, so he needs to look over here real quick just to see it. And then I'm gonna stop branding myself, right? So, but D mentioned something
no,
else.
Hold on. I do want to say this about your shirt. So as I was looking at your shirt, I was thinking it would be so cool if you also got somebody to put that on your jacket. So when somebody sees it and they're like, you can be like, it's in both places. Because it's clean. It's very clean. Yeah.
I need to get my tailor to do that.
it would look pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, another comment that D made, even above complimenting me on my shirt, was back to Joseph's interviewing loan officer in other states. That brings out sellers who will be buyers. Love it. So right off the bat, we're getting some positive affirmations. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And it's one of those strategies that, again, we are not hiding this behind a paywall. We really do believe that this is something that is going to help you in your business. If not, then it's just going to be a tremendous, colossal waste of our time. So that is, we're not a big fan of that. We're not a big fans of that. So all we ask for is that 5-star review. That's all we've been asking for from day one. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I think it's safe to say, Jaime, that people who come and listen to our podcast or watch this on replay on Facebook or our YouTube, it's safe to say that we've gotten people results already, right? Like, I know for a fact that people have messaged me. I know people have messaged me and told me, or actually, I think like week 3, somebody from your stuff had gotten, what was it, like a $250,000 buyer and a $750,000, like almost $1 million worth of real estate transactions just from the information from what you do in the podcast. So if anybody says there's no helpful information here, they're not listening very well.
Then get out.
Get out of here.
So the last thing we want to say about podcasts before we move on, or maybe I shouldn't say that. One of the last things is you're able to cross platform. So you're able to take back to Joseph's point. I really don't want it to get lost. You're able to rip out the audio and convert it into a podcast. So that's something that, as we're talking about actionable items, you can do it that way. Also, if you wanted to take it one step further and convert it into a blog, you can absolutely do that as well. You can hire a company that doesn't charge that much to do the transcription. In fact, if you do it on YouTube, so if you're doing this on YouTube right now, within about 24 hours, you're going to have a transcription of everything that was said here. The downside to that, using that transcription, is that you do need to go through it with a very fine tune. You need to go through it really careful, because it's not extremely accurate, but you can convert it into a blog. Or you could do a completely different route, which is what I do. I start from the blog, make it into a YouTube video, make it into a podcast. And there you have the trifecta. So just giving you the exact
Boom.
recipe that we're using.
Boom. Okay, so since we're talking about the podcast and YouTube and transcripting, I'm going to tell you guys something that we're doing. And I think, Jaime, I told you about it. I don't know if we really went into detail about it. So what we know is that there are certain YouTube real estate channels that are getting transactions done. And it's not like they're doing anything like groundbreaking, right? They're just creating YouTube videos on their market. And so what we've done is we have our virtual assistants, and I told my agents to do this: go out, look for the videos and information where the agents are closing deals from those videos, and then they recreate those videos for their specific market. The VA, the virtual assistant, goes out and transcribes those videos and then sends them over to the agent. The agent then checks it, and then the agent can make a video from that, right? So again, like all the stuff that we give is like stuff that we've seen work or stuff that we've done ourselves, right? And so the example Jaime just gave you is like transcribe the video, create the blog, and then you're able to create the podcast. Like 3 things in one, and it's really simple to be able to do that. So yeah, like I don't know. I think we kind of beat the podcast to death here, but ladies and gentlemen, it'll bring business in if you just know what you're doing.
100%. So right off the bat, what we've given you, just to put it into marketing context, we've given you 3 passive ways to gain leads. The only time that Joseph and I are going to touch this physical file, if you will, is going to be right here. This is it. Then it goes into a folder. So it's already zapped in. Once we turn off the Zoom, and there's a reason that we're going live in all these places, the audio, correcting our mistakes from 2 weeks ago, is going to go into a certain spot where our VAs take over. They upload it to Buzzsprout, and then boom, everything else starts moving over. So this is we're kind of like actors. I'd like to say, with the terrible producer, Pat Patterson, by the way. But we show up, perform for you, we dance around for you and do all that fun stuff, and then we're gone, right? So it's and this isn't boastful, Joe. So I hope I'm not coming across like an arrogant a-hole, but
No,
this
I
is
don't think
just
so.
how the sausage is made. So you see how little or as much time as you want to commit to it is what it's going to end up being. But this is going to ultimately go into 3 different assets that are going to be in existence today, in existence a month from now, in existence from 2 years from now, as opposed to if we were cold calling. Well, the moment that I press end, that's when that effort ends, and I have to go and do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, we've talked about perpetuity before. Those of you who are not lawyers and don't do lawyer speak, and I'm not a lawyer, by the way, if you didn't realize that. But the content that's out there that is hosted somewhere else is in perpetuity until that platform dies, right? And so you're allowed to post that information, and then you will have new viewers, new followers for the rest of that content's life, right? So yeah, I agree with you, Hyman. As we talk about these not new strategies, but strategies people don't go into depth on. Yeah, calling is great, and I think it's fantastic. If you're used to doing it, you get used to doing it. But again, once you hang up the phone, if there's nothing else you're doing after that, then you are losing out on what could be happening, right? Like if you're not calling somebody and saying, "Hey, my YouTube channel is Jaime Resendez, make sure you go check it out," and they're not subscribed, they're never going to hear from you again, right? Or you're probably never going to hear from them again either.
Shots
Anyway.
fired at my channel, Joseph. Shots fired at my channel. All right. So that's how we're going to be today.
That was helpful information to get you more subscribers.
No one's heard of Jaime Resendez marketing, by the way. My gosh. All right. Podcast over. So
Podcast done.
speaking of awesome strategies, Joseph, we're now would be a great time to introduce the lender
Okay.
strategy that you would discuss. It's a fantastic strategy that, folks, I've heard it before. Many of you have not heard it before. In fact, a lot of you, the newer audience, even the old audience, you need to check, you need to really listen in right now, and chances are you're going to need to bookmark this and listen to it again to execute it, because this one's good.
Yeah. So when I first got my license, which was, I don't know, 3 years ago, coming up on 3, 4 years ago, and I was doing marketing way before I got my license, right? And anyway, I saw people making a lot of money. I was like, I'm on the wrong side of this game. I need to get into selling real estate. And so I did. And just like anybody else, I already had some, or not like anybody else, I had some skills, right? And so I thought differently. I didn't come into the game listening to everybody about calling or door knocking and things like that. I thought a little bit differently than everyone else did. And so I didn't have I don't want to say bad habits. I don't think they're bad habits, just the same habits that everybody else did. And so what I did was I said, you know what, let me figure out, everybody's cold calling these home sellers, these expires, and they're all pitching the same stuff, right? Which is, hey, I'd like to do a better job than the last person, right? And so what I did was I said, okay, if they're calling them to say that, what can I call and say that's different? And so my strategy was, let me call these expireds or these folks who are considering selling their house, and I'm going to say, hey, my name's Joseph Gonzalez. I'm a real estate agent. Before you hang up, let me tell you how you can sell your house without actually having to work with a real estate agent, right? And so people are like, and immediately I know all the real estate agents are like, what the heck? How am I going to get any business? So the idea is this: you call them, you tell them this, and you can change the tone of it the way you want to. But hey, I'm calling to basically give you some help on selling your house. And one of the issues that typically happens with people who are trying to, especially if you're calling Fsbos, that with people who are trying to sell their house themselves, is they have to field all the phone calls. And then you have these random people coming into your house that you don't even know if they qualify to buy your house. So they could be coming into your house to scope your house out to rob you later, right? And so now scarcity mindset, so forth and so on. And so you say, instead of that happening, and I can't legally put a sign in your yard with my name on it unless I have a contract with you. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to put a lender sign in your yard, allow my lending partner to pre-qualify people before they come see your house, so that it protects you from having random people who don't have the money to buy your house come in to see your house. Would you feel safer if that happened? Right? And immediately people are going to be like, yeah, that makes more sense than me trying to sell it myself and random people coming in. And then the question that will usually come from that is, well, what do you get out of it? And so the statement is really easy. It's like, hey, look, if somebody comes in and they can buy your house, I'm going to take them to see your house first, right? But if they can't afford your house, or maybe it's not the right fit, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them look at other houses. So no matter what, you win and I win, because we're protecting you. And two, if it doesn't work out for them buying your house, then I get to take them to look at other houses. But it doesn't take you anything, doesn't take you any time or anything like that. I can come put a sign in your yard today. I don't have to have a contract to try to sell your house. And if you still want to sell it yourself, this is a great way to do it. How does that sound? And boom, go take a sign from my lender. My lender pays for the sign. I don't even pay for the sign. The lender does. They put their information on it. We may have a text number for people to text in to put their information and see more pictures of the house and get pre-qualified. And then the lender does all the work up front. And then I just wait for them to send me over the buyers, right? So that's the strategy.
Boom. Hey, Jen. Jen is my virtual assistant that cuts this up, by the way.
Yeah.
Cut the last 60 seconds, and this is going to be our promo clip. Folks, did we get that? Did we hear that? Please, 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 please listen to that part again if you missed that. It's just a fantastic strategy. This is one of those modern ways, those unique ways that you're not hearing about anywhere else. There's a reason that we titled it. There's a reason that we titled it the way that we did. One is to clickbait, but two, we actually deliver on it. So this is something that is absolutely golden. Go out and execute. And Joseph, I fear that I'm about to get on the pedestal here and cry a lot of, just maybe start sounding too preachy, but I feel that a lot of us are not going to take action on that because it requires a
Yeah,
little bit of different work, try and do things a little bit different. So I encourage you to at least give this a shot, give this an opportunity. And I don't like, pushing that fear mongering from the sense of, that C word, because I don't want to get this YouTube video
yeah,
demonetized. But given the pandemic, now more than ever, people don't want people roaming through their houses. Now, one, it's
yeah,
true exactly what Joseph was mentioning about, you don't know the intentions of these people. People are calling left and right. Um, you, you as real estate agents, you are able to feel through the BSers, the tire
uh-oh.
kickers a lot more easily because you deal with it every day. But over here, from a nervous owner, it's a real thing. It's a real concern that yes, they
Yeah,
may feel like they're so empowered because they're selling their home on their own, but at the end of the day, a professional is a professional is a professional. So if you leverage the whole,
yeah,
well, do you want somebody, just a stranger coming in here that has no earthly intention of buying your home? Well, obviously not. So leverage that, and it's a huge opportunity that you can absolutely press into right now. Again, I'm not I guess I kind of am suggesting, I don't, I'm not necessarily going to the fear mongering, but just raising awareness to that fact because it's a real one.
yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think it's fear mongering at all, right? Of course, as a marketer, that's why I say it, right? But even as a human being, as a homeowner, if I were selling my own house, I don't want some random person that can't afford my house to come in, right? And so if you can also do this with the open house signs, right? And so if somebody comes in and somebody's like, "Yeah, I'm really interested," and you're like, "Hey, if you're really interested, text this number, and we can get you pre-qualified. Make sure that you can, this house matches your finances, right?" And so there are different ways to take this approach. Mike said something here on this strategy, and Cindy did as well, Jaime. So Mike says two
Hit it.
things that sell everything faster: fear and sex. I'm not going to say the word just in case it demonetizes this, but yes, those two things do. And if you utilize them properly, then of course you can make a lot of money doing it, but it's got to be done tastefully in the right way, right? And then Cindy says, "What does the sign say? Is it attached to the seller's for sale sign? No, get rid of that ugly for sale sign and sell the chart." Cindy, it'll actually be your mortgage professional or your lender or whatever you want, mortgage off, loan officer or mortgage professional, and it'll be their picture. It'll look just like a real estate picture does, and whatever is on their business card, and it says for sale, just like it normally would. And then you can put a text writer on the top, or probably on the top or the bottom. But yeah, it says for sale just like any other real estate sign would, but now it's your lender's information. And they shouldn't have any laws around that because this strategy I thought up and nobody had done it yet. And I passed it by my board, I passed it by my broker. And they're like, nobody's ever done that. And that's in Austin, Texas, which is a very progressive market. And so, yeah, you just create it just like would a normal real estate sign, except now it's your lender's information. Your lender's going to want to do it too because it puts their face out there, puts their phone numbers, or puts their lending company, so you can have their lending company on it. And yeah, that's how you really do it, right?
I dig it. I dig it. Folks, is there any questions on that? I'm going to take this opportunity as a little pause to remind everybody, if you're listening to the podcast, a 5-star review goes a long way. That's going to really help us grow, hit that next milestone a lot quicker. If you're over listening to us real time, I see we have quite a few folks on the Facebook thread and also on the YouTube channel. Now would be a fantastic time to hit that like button to help send the notifications out to the people that are subscribed that are not getting them. So there we go. We saw an instant bump. So
Awesome.
advertising works. So yeah, that would be a fantastic thing for you to do right now. Hitting that like button, that would be a huge thing. And we're going to monitor the comments for the next couple of seconds to see there's some additional questions that go into that strategy that Joseph just unleashed on us, because one, it is completely new. Two, it's something that there may be some logistics things that you may be unsure about. And three, just as a quick heads up, although we are fairly certain that this is pretty good to go. At the end of the day, this is your business, so it's your responsibility to vet this out with your association, with your state boards, with everything, making sure that your brokerage is okay with. We're fairly certain, but again, we have to cover our tail so we don't get a cease and desist letter, because those are not fun. But at the end of the day, we're pretty in the clear. We don't teach any shenanigans out there, but at the end, but we could just kind of have to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Anything that we tell you guys about, make sure that you're speaking with your broker about. Your broker's probably going to be shocked that you even have this idea. To be honest with you, they're going to be like, "Where did you even get this idea?" They're probably going to want to do it, right? Because we know that the name of the game right now is listings. They're flying off the walls in most locations within 24 or 48 hours, no longer than a week. So you present this to actually, let's say that the markets right now, the line to see an open house is a block, right? And so you take this approach and you say, you do this whole approach and you have all these people coming to an open house that you're hosting, has all your lenders information on it, you're there, you don't have the listing, you could possibly have 50 or 60 buyers depending on your market, right? And so that's the real approach to this, is like, yes, you may not get the listing and you may not close the deal, or maybe you end up servicing the contract and you close 1% of the listing that you would have never had in the first place, right? And so that's part of it. The other part is you get written permission from the owner to actually market the house on Facebook. And then you say, of course, you have to get written permission, and you have to check with your board and all this stuff. But then you go market the house in Facebook groups or marketplace with the text number to the same lender's phone number to get people pre-qualified. And now you're getting another set of free leads, not just pass-bys, drive-bys, but you're also getting free leads from using that property to market and get people to either come to open house or just get people to fill out the number to get more information on that particular house. Or you call it it's not a pocket listing or anything like that. You can't call it that, but you can say this house is for sale by the owner, and then let people fill out the information. So another way just to keep capitalizing on one single property.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And something that we don't want to gloss over, because Joseph makes it sound easy, because it's quite simple. And I say
Yeah,
easy,
simple.
not in the sense of nothing else than it's very straightforward, because it is.
Yeah.
And what I don't want to gloss over is the way that you got into that relationship, into that engagement with the seller is unique. How many of us are calling, the moment that open house goes the moment that the for sale by owner goes up, call. Well, Joseph did something different, provided something of value up front. We hear value all the time. So he had a different value add. Actually, he had value add, period. So he actually has a relationship now with the seller. So remember, sellers right now have a huge leg up because it's seller's market, as we know. So he spoke to the seller differently. So he had a relationship with the seller. Now he did something for the seller at that point that provided value. Well, in the event that the owner is a terrible negotiator, hard-headed as they'll be, maybe they're overpriced, whatever it happens to be, guess who's going to get the tail end of that? And that's something that Joseph mentioned a couple of seconds ago. But I want you to understand the entry point, and I want you to understand the out, if you will. So in everything, there's a win-win-win. You learn how to communicate with sellers a lot better. You're getting some leads along the way. If ideally you can bring a buyer, great, fantastic, everybody wins. But even at the end of the day, if the task is not complete, then who's going to be there to pick up the, the pieces, if you will? So I'm trying to poke holes in it as I'm going through the transaction, and they're just not there. So if anybody, I'd like to challenge anybody in the comment section. Where are we missing it? Where's Joseph missing it? Where am I missing it? Because this is pretty vetted through. Not only just vetted through, it's actually been implemented successly. So let's not lose sight of that.
Yeah, if you guys have any hey, here's the reason why it won't work, please do comment. All right. I'm always willing to look at other perspectives, because that helps me vet my ideas beyond what I've already done. and improve, right? Because it's all about improving everybody who listens to our podcast or watches us on Facebook. Yeah, Jaime, to continue on the point about who's going to be there once this is all done, if you set expectations the right way, what you can tell the homeowners, look, this is like 1/30th of what could happen if you decided to sell with a real estate agent, which I hope you do choose me. But just by doing a Fsbo or FSBO or selling it by yourself, you're missing out on putting this home in front of, you know, however many real estate agents are in your market. Let's say 5,000 real estate agents, which all have several buyers, which could be, 2 or 3 times that, which is, another 10 to 15,000 people, right? And so if you do decide to not go Fsbo and you want to work with a real estate agent, just let me know and we'll make sure we'll come out and do professional pictures. We'll come out and put it on the MLS, and we'll do all the things that we normally would, and make sure we get this house sold. But again, the stuff that I'm doing for you now is, in good faith that we help we get this home sold, but you also know that you have somebody you come ask questions to. So that's one part of it, right? The back end of it, and getting the possible listing for that house if it doesn't sell, which we know how many Fsbos actually sell, but in this market, who knows? And so that's one part of it. And there was another idea that I was going to say on top of that, right? Beyond just getting the Fsbo to list with you, there are a couple other things that come from the strategy. So as you continue vetting the strategy, you're going to see like there's these little pieces that that you're not thinking about, like being able to go knock on doors because you're at an open house now and you're saying, hey, this person's selling, and helping them work through the numbers of their own house, right? And so this strategy, what really happens is it just brings more ideas to you as you're going through it. And that's the idea of some of the stuff that we do on the podcast is, yes, this is a singular idea, and it just spurs these other things that can happen beyond that.
1,000%. So Joseph, a few questions real quick as they're coming in. Can Kanlavi, sorry if I butchered that. Great idea, but where do you normally find a Fsbo phone number or information? Do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, we actually have a couple people who have already applied. D says on Zillow. That's one place. You can go to Redx, REDX. Again, Redx better start sending us some money.
Oh, yeah. I'll be on it tomorrow.
Sponsorship.
I'll be on it tomorrow.
Redx, Zillow, Craigslist. Those are places that you can go. Redx costs money. Zillow's free. And then Craigslist is free, right? You just go search for sale by owner, FSBO, whatever you're going to search in those terms, and then you'll be able to find those type of folks.
Joseph, another one that's coming through Travis. How do you get it on the MLS for free for them?
You won't ever get it on the MLS for free for them, right? I mean, you could. Your broker's probably going to be mad that you're listing a house for free, depending on who your broker is. But you don't want to necessarily do that for free because you're putting in some work and you have to get some good photos and stuff. So Travis, the idea is not to get the listing or to get the listing, right? That's really not the idea. You get the listing on the back end and then you'll put in the MLS for them whenever they're ready to list with you and sign a contract.
100%. Now, this next strategy is a little bit of an extension from what we were talking about with this strategy, which is doing a similar thing with your leases, doing a similar thing in working the lease aspect for those homeowners that are leasing their home for free. Now, it's a little bit different. So we can go into so many different angles from the moment that you see a sign that says for lease that doesn't happen to be owned by a real estate agent. So one of those strategies could be working that relationship with the landlord to see if now's the right time to sell. They're back out onto the market, and just with the right information or information period, it doesn't even have to, well, yes, it does have to be right, but you're not necessarily leading the witness, just introducing the idea, hey, is now the right time to sell? I understand that you have it for lease, but there's a reason that you did it. Either they ended their lease and you had to prep it up just a bit so you can lease it again, or they were terrible tenants and you had to get rid of them. So there's only a certain amount of things that could have happened with that. But yes, a lot of people will have the long-term mentality of this lease, this home is going to be a rental forever. But we know that those are intentions that people go into that on paper, it makes perfect sense. I'm going to get $400 above the X, Y, and Z, but they never factor in the roof being replaced. They don't factor in
Yeah.
the heater going out. They don't factor in having to completely redo the floors because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So if you approach these types of landlords that are putting their house up for lease, especially after month one, after month two, when they've had to come out of pocket to pay the mortgage, you may catch them at the right time. So we're not going to get too much into strategy. I just wanted to share the continuation of thinking a little bit different as we're talking about trying to solve for that listing or seller shortage right now that's happening.
Yeah, that's fantastic strategy. Actually, Jaime, I forgot that we did that years ago. I don't know if my agents actually implemented it, but we were doing the same thing, um, a little bit differently. We weren't calling any of the leases, which I think is a great idea. But what we did was we posted in Facebook groups. Hey, do you currently have a house that you're leasing, that you're considering selling and would like to know the value of that house, right? And so what would happen if they did that? You're going to have, there's only, I mean, you can look online to see how many leases are in your market, and they're going to be on Facebook Marketplace and their Facebook groups, because they're also looking for somebody to lease their house, right? And they're probably struggling, and they're also probably afraid to post about their actual property. So now, whenever you say that, they're going to reach out to you, or you can even say, "Hey, do you have a property that you want to lease out, and need help, or need professional information on how to lease it faster?" And then you can start talking about selling it, right? So there are just different ways. Again, I talk about this often. It's all about law of attraction and understanding what attracts people. And this strategy I'm just talking about, if you just use the right terminology, people are going to chase you. You won't have to chase them.
100%, 100%. So, any questions as we migrate over to the next strategy? Again, we're talking about strategies that are working right now, that have worked in the past, and will continue working. But we're also talking about strategies that you're not hearing be elaborated on anywhere else. And
Yeah.
on some of these strategies, you're not going to hear anywhere else outside of this podcast. So, as a quick reminder, now would be a great time to hit that 5-star review if you're on Apple Podcast. If you are listening to us live right now, we go live on Thursdays. I always say 8 p.m. Central, but all right, let's be real.
More like
We're late a lot.
8:30ish.
We're
Yeah.
late. So if you come early, hang around late, you'll just get the notification. So we'll go ahead and be honest with you. Yeah, it ends up being 8:30. So
Yeah.
we just give you so Joseph and I are both Hispanic. Um, some more than others, no offense. But but we give you the what we call the Mexican time, right? We give you
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hey, show up at 5, but we expect you to get here at 10. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
There's a
basically
window
what's
there.
happening.
There's a
That's
window there.
basically what's happening. Um,
Oh man, that's hilarious.
let's
So
see.
so
Go ahead.
D just said, guys, I'm calling the 3 lenders tomorrow morning to get this one Fsbo I've been helping on board. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, you'll get that sign of the yard without question. So
1,000%.
good job, D. Let us know. Send us a message once you get that sign of the yard, because that's always great to be able to see the actions being taken, and the fruit from those actions, that labor.
Jason
Jaime,
from New York. I have taken so many notes from today's video. Thank you, gentlemen. Jason Needham. Welcome. Welcome, welcome.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
welcome from NYC. Don't just take notes. Make sure you take action. Just always want to say that to people. Um, so Jaime, one other aspect that I forgot to mention, and that was what I was trying to capitalize on earlier, and it kept slipping my mind, was that um, another thing that you can do with these for sale by owners is also help them get pre-approved through the same lender that's going to put the sign in the yard. Right. So let's say, for example, you're getting ready. The seller's got to go somewhere. They're either moving because they're relocating for a job, or they're moving because they're upgrading or downgrading. Right. And so you're like, hey, before you move forward with, and maybe you miss them because they've already done that legwork. But if they haven't, they're like, hey, my lender can also give you a second opinion, or get you pre-approved if you're thinking about buying as well after you sell this property, so that you know what you can go out and buy, and you can go start looking at houses too. And I would love to help you with that part of it. So literally you could get 3 or 4 transactions from this one property, right? Without even actually ever having to list it.
100%. And as we're talking about the magnification, just the growth of leads is kind of like the leads birth other leads.
Yeah.
So with that, it's think about the impression that you left on that seller. They may be
Yeah.
working with a crappy agent. I hate to say
Yeah.
it. Well, actually, I
Yeah.
don't hate to say it.
It
It's a
happens.
reality. There's a lot
It
of crappy
happens.
agents out there. Not everybody that's listening here, though. Everybody here is
Yeah.
top producers. I love it. The
Top of the top.
top is the top. 1% of the 1%. Where was I going? Oh, okay. So, man, it's late, Joseph.
Yeah.
One thing about the whole
Leads.
leads get other leads, if you will. Think about the impression that you left on that seller. Think about the impression that they now have. Now they're going to be like, crap. I should have worked with Joseph on my buying. That's one. But what's the next best thing? Referrals,
That's right.
referrals. So they may have missed out. They might already be under contract with the other agent. However, their friends aren't. They're other people. So when friends start moving, the real estate conversation really pops up for their community. It's like, well, Chris just bought a house. Why can't I? Well,
Yeah.
maybe is now the right time. So you
Yeah.
start having those conversations. And again, it goes back to your point of it ain't converting to at absolute worst, you left a fantastic impression at absolute
Yeah.
worst. And you had a great way to generate some more business.
Yeah.
Honestly, what's going to end up happening is you're going to hit that middle where you're going to get some folks to work with. Some of them are going to be ready to go now. Some of them will be ready to go later. And then absolute
Yeah.
slam dunk is you get the listing, you help them buy, you get your lender in there, you get referrals upon referrals. But where's the downside? Again, I kind of go back to try to poke holes in it because it's just not there. There's none there.
Yeah. Well, you take it as another, right? Like as we have these conversations and we talk about these ideas and these strategies, there's just so much that can be done if people just really look at it from a different perspective than they normally would. You can take the same strategy, and once you start going to door knock, you can do things like, hey, and you write down the address of every house that you door knock around. Like, hey, we're going to hold an open house. We're helping this seller. He's selling his house by himself. You don't have to, whatever you want to say. We're helping so and so host an open house to sell their house, right?
Mhm.
And so when you knock on the door, you give them the flyer, and you're like, by the way, if you'd like to, I can hold after this house sells, I can send you over a CMA, or I can send you over a CMA. And of course, you want to say the value of your house, right? A home valuation, so that you can know if that house sells fast, if you decide to sell, what you could possibly get for your house, right? And so you're able to go door knock around and give those flyers. And then I gave a tip to one of the agents earlier that I had a call with, a free strategy call with, and she was just starting out. And what I told her was, and she was saying there's a lot of houses selling in her neighborhood. And I was like, go host open house every single day and every house that's available. And what you do is you go around and knock on everybody's door and you give them a flyer like, hey, I'm hosting open house at this house, right? They don't know if you're the listing agent or not. All they know is there's an open house and you have the information for it. I said, and then if that house sells fast, you go back to all those houses and you say, hey, did a free CMA on your house. That house sold above listing price, and you could just put it on your business card, above listing price in X amount of time. If you want a CMA or if you want help listing your house, here's my business card. And so you just literally write down how fast it sold, how much it sold for, and then you actually touch these people twice, right? I'm very, very careful. You've made 2 touch points with this person. So you go out and so you've done a flyer and now you're giving your business card and you're showing proof that houses are selling fast. And most agents actually won't double back. They only go and do it once, right?
Boom, folks. Did y'all just catch that? Did y'all just catch that? It wasn't a good strategy. It was just Joseph trying to one up me. That's what was happening.
It was lightning in a bottle. What are you talking about?
No, it was really good. It was a really fantastic strategy, and you really nailed it on the head. Who's doing that? Now, again, you can listen in and take and really appreciate you taking notes. It's that action that happens. I was just and I was telling you about this earlier. I spoke to my high school 14 years removed. I graduated in 2007. I spoke to them, what's today,
You
Thursday. So
old?
on Wednesday, yesterday. And I don't even know where I got this quote, but it was, you creating the perfect plan and not executing it is a waste of time. So that was something that was just, it just came out as I was doing the presentation for the high school. And it was one of those things that is just so magnified here, where we're introducing different elements. Now, not saying that you should do all of them. We always bring up the analogy of boiling the ocean. That's not what we're suggesting here. Is we're challenging you to think a little bit different. So
Yeah.
even just the strategy that Joseph mentioned that was fantastic, you can slice the onion a little bit differently. So just giving you an example with the open house, as you're doing the open house, that there's so many homes that are for sale in a neighborhood. That's fantastic. When you're door knocking, how you bring more people in is you have a neighborhood hour. So a neighborhood hour, an
Love it.
hour before if you're going to be at the open house from 2 to 4 to the open public, well, the neighborhood hours is 1 to 2. Hey, we're having an open house on 123 Main Street by the owner, Susie. I believe you know her. If you don't, she's probably terrible. But if you want to see her house, just understand that we have a neighborhood hour. We have a neighborhood hour, and I'd like to invite you to it. No commitment at all. It's just, I'm sure you're interested in what it looks like. And that's it. I mean, that's a neighborhood hour. It provides that exclusivity. It provides scarcity. And it gives people a little bit of, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm around here. It gives people a little bit of that unique feel, that red carpet treatment, if you will.
Yeah.
And within that red carpet, the people that show up, they've not only did you talk to them, as Joseph was mentioning, the ones that you talk to, you go back and provide something different. But the people that show up, they sure as sugar better be getting that CMA as you go back after the deed is done. And at no point did you say that you were the one that was the listing agent or you were the one that became the buyer. But there's that perception of, well, clearly Joseph sold it. I mean, he's giving me all this stuff. He's just wanting to show off. No one's ever going to check that. And you're not trying to be deceitful. You're trying to provide value. And
you're in the neighborhood anyway.
Is how you're getting listings.
Yeah, you're in the neighborhood anyway. If you really want to up your game, and since Jaime and I are both Hispanic, I don't think Jaime drinks, but you just say, if you're coming for the neighborhood hour at 4:00, we're giving tequila shots. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Offended, Joseph. What are we gonna give away? Sombreros next? Get out of here. We're about to get canceled. How's the matter with you, Joseph?
Oh man, that's hilarious.
But we can say that.
All right.
I
made myself laugh. I
like that.
It's almost Mexicanos. We can say whatever we want. Okay.
Let's go into Spanish. So the last part of the podcast is gonna be in Espanol. That's awesome. Folks, we actually had 3 more strategies, but guess what? We're not going to get to them. We're going to be respectful of your time as we get ready for the dismount. Joseph, why do we even plan for this? If we're going to have all of these strategies and then we don't do them. And why do I even tell the audience that we have 3 more? And this is falling apart quickly.
They get lots of value, I think, out of the stuff that we've already said, and so we'll save those for one of the future podcasts. How about that?
I dig it. All right, Joseph. So the dismount. Do you want to go first, or do I want to go first?
Did you ask yourself that, or did you ask me that?
I asked you that. I speak to myself in third person now because I've made it.
I'll go first. No, I think one of the things that I want people to really do is take action on this stuff. I want you to actually go to Zillow, go to your lenders, present this idea to them, sit down with them. If you can't sit down with them, get on a Zoom call with them, tell them about it, and say, hey, by the way, these are the different ways this could benefit you. And I would love for you to get a sign by, Build a Sign or whoever the heck they buy their sign through. And, let's get you some business and get your face out there too, because you deserve to have your face out there. And I guarantee the lenders will be like, yo, take my face out there. But seriously, just take action on it. Go look at Redex, go look at these different places where you can get for sale by owners, and just watch your business grow. It's going to be pretty fun.
I dig it. I dig it. So that's perfect. For my dismount, Joseph, it's going to be a shameless plug. Remember, 5-star review is going to go a long way. We really do appreciate everybody that's gone on there. I think we're up to 30. I don't know. I need to go back and check, but we have quite a few, but we need a lot more. So really appreciate you participating in that. And also, I want to have a call to action because we sporadically introduce the wins. We want to highlight you as much as possible. So let us know. This isn't we'll pat ourselves in the back. We know that these are working, but just take that extra effort. Please connect with Joseph, connect with myself. We want to celebrate you, want to help you in your business. So if one of these strategies resonated, you took action and you saw some results, please let us know. We really do want to hear from you. Again, we want to celebrate with you. We want to, I guess in this part, it's kind of self-gratifying in the sense that, hey, we made a meaningful impact here. So thank you. So don't be afraid to share the successes. We absolutely want to celebrate with you. If you'd like, we'd absolutely host you on the podcast as well as we celebrate together. This is something that we don't have to be in competition constantly. We can be a nice community that we lift each other up. And that's what we're doing around here. So what days is the next one is Travis's question. Awesome.
Oh, hold on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Same. Okay, same day, same time every week, Travis. Every Thursday, 8:30ish p.m. CST. You can bet on about 8:30 CST is when we'll typically be on. And so yeah, we hope to see you next week. We'll provide some more helpful information. By the way, if you haven't gone to, as Jaime stated, go to the podcast on Spotify or Apple, and you can check out our old podcast as well, because trust me, there's a lot of information there as well that's very actionable, just like today.
Bam. Hey, folks, thank you so much for listening to the Agent Lead Source podcast. This has been episode 27, Real Estate Lead Generation Strategies that nobody is talking about. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.